Imagine this. You are stepping gently into your grandmother's old kitchen, long after sunset. The wooden floor creaks beneath your feet. Familiar, comforting. The air is warm with the faint scent of cinnamon, vanilla, and something sweet you can't quite name. On the counter, a kettle hums softly. Outside, night settles over the garden, and somewhere in the distance, a wind chime sings to no one in particular, but your eyes are drawn to the corner of the room, a tall wooden cabinet carved with tiny flowers. The spice cabinet. It's always been there, always humming with memory. You reach for the handle, and as the doors open, the soft scent of nutmeg, star anise, and clove greets you like a lullaby from the past. This is Bedtime Whisper, a space where quiet stories and soothing sounds help your thoughts slow down and your body soften into rest. If your mind feels full tonight, if sleep has been just out of reach, let this be your gentle invitation to return to stillness, scent, and something safe. So take a slow breath in, and as you exhale, let the day fall behind you. You're safe here, and the story is just beginning. You step quietly into your grandmother's cottage just after dark. The wooden door closes behind you with a soft sigh, and immediately the air wraps around you, warm and familiar, like a worn cardigan that still carries her scent. Lavender, yes, but something else too, something deeper. Spices, wood smoke, and the faintest trace of orange peel. The kitchen is just as you remember, dimly lit by two old oil lamps that sit like sentinels on either end of the long wooden counter. The space glows amber and soft. Light flickers gently across every surface. Etched spoons, a cast iron pan, a row of drying herbs hung from a beam. The windows are fogged at the edges, and outside you can hear the distant hush of trees swaying in the evening wind. Your shoes scuff lightly on the wide, uneven planks as you walk in. The old floorboard near the stove still groans under your step. It's always been like that, ever since you were small enough to need help reaching the sink. On the wooden table sits a round loaf of bread, still warm, wrapped in a cotton towel. You reach out, press your fingers gently to its side. Soft, fresh. Maybe she baked it earlier. Or maybe, just maybe, time works differently in this house. Your eyes drift to the corner. There it is. The spice cabinet, tall, made of old oak, with delicate carvings of wildflowers dancing up the frame. The knobs are glass, slightly chipped, soft to the touch, and even from across the room you can hear it, like something inside is gently breathing. It hasn't changed, not a bit. The last time you opened it, you were a child. Your grandmother had stood beside you, her hands dusted with flour, telling you that every jar had its own story. Spices remember things, she'd whispered, and if you listen closely, they'll tell you. You walk toward it now, slower this time, no rush. You let your fingers trail along the edge of the counter, past the chipped teacup holding a sprig of rosemary, past the clay bowl full of dried lemon peels. There's a comfort in this kitchen, a stillness, as if the room itself is waiting for you to remember what you came here for. You pause in front of the cabinet. The scent is stronger now. Cardamom, pepper, vanilla, all tangled together, like the memory of every warm dish ever served here. You close your eyes, and for a moment you're a child again. Small hands reaching toward the highest shelf. Your grandmother gently laughing behind you. You open your eyes. You reach for the handle. The wood is cool, and the hum beneath it seems to grow ever so slightly louder, as if the spices are leaning in too. You pull the door open, and the scent rolls out, not overpowering, not loud, just enough to make your shoulders drop and your chest expand. Inside, the shelves are lined with glass jars of all shapes and sizes, some fat and round, others tall and slender. Each one has a label, handwritten, slightly faded, but still perfectly legible. Cinnamon, clove, nutmeg, star anise, bay leaf, cardamom, saffron, vanilla, paprika. They sit side by side, not alphabetically, not even logically, just as they've always been, exactly where they belong. You step closer, and something stirs. Not outside, not in the room, inside you. A memory, maybe, or a feeling too soft to name. You smile, because you know this night is not just about spices, it's about stories. And this cabinet, this gentle humming cabinet, is ready to tell them. One jar at a time, you stand for a moment, with your hand still resting on the cabinet door. The scent curling around you now feels almost like a greeting. One part cinnamon, one part something older, quieter, and hard to name. The kitchen seems to hold its breath with you. Outside, the wind stirs faintly through the garden. You hear the familiar rustle of lavender brushing against the window frame. You turn back to the room. Let your fingertips brush the edge of the table. Everything here has texture, story, and weight. There's the enamel teapot, still chipped at the spout, from that day she dropped it, half laughing, half scolding herself. You remember the sound it made, how she kissed her own finger, as if that could soothe the moment. And beside it, a folded cloth napkin with a sprig of rosemary tucked inside. You don't know if she meant to leave it there, but it feels like a sign, like a hello. You cross slowly to the windowsill. Two terracotta pots still sit there, one holding dried thyme, the other home to a stubborn basil plant that has somehow outlived its season. The panes are streaked from last week's rain. You draw a small circle in the fogged glass with your thumb, a childlike gesture, reflexive, gentle. Outside, the moon is low and round. Watching, you turn, your eyes drifting again to the cabinet. The first jar you lift is cinnamon. Its glass is warm, and the lid is loose enough that the scent finds you before you even open it. It smells like snow days, and warm milk, and the faint memory of singing, hummed beneath breath while measuring sugar. You close your eyes, and just like that, you're not here. You're 6. There's snow on the ground, and your grandmother is standing by the stove, her apron dusted with flour and a curl of hair loose from her bun. She's telling you about the time she made cinnamon buns during a blackout and used a candle to check if the dough had risen. You asked if that was dangerous. She winked and said, "Only if you do it wrong." You laugh out loud, just a small sound. As the memory fades, you open your eyes. You're back in the kitchen, the cinnamon jar in your hand, the hum of the cabinet, gentle and even. You place the jar back carefully, not exactly where it was, just a little to the left. And now, you notice it, something you hadn't seen before, a small drawer at the bottom of the cabinet, one you've never opened. It doesn't hum like the rest, but it seems to wait. You reach for the small knob and ease it open. Inside, cloves, dark, shiny, fragile, not in a jar, but loose, scattered across the soft wood like forgotten punctuation, and tucked just beneath them, a folded scrap of paper. Your breath catches. You lift it slowly, careful not to disturb the tiny clove stems. Unfold it and read. For the brave, for the quiet, for the ones who keep things alive. There's no signature, no explanation, just those words. And the cloves, whole, fragrant, still potent after all these years. You hold the note in your palm, and you know, this cabinet really does remember. You place the folded note gently back into the drawer, careful not to disturb the cloves, resting around it like tiny sentries. You let the wood slide shut with a soft click. The sound is delicate, final, but not closing, like a book being bookmarked, not put away. The hum inside the cabinet hasn't changed. It's still low, steady, just beneath the edge of hearing. You reach for another jar. This one is nutmeg. It's small and round, with a little silver lid that doesn't match the others. The label reads simply, Garden Days. Not nutmeg, not spice, just a name. You smile. Your grandmother had a way of naming things by feeling, not function. You twist the lid gently and lift it just enough to let the scent out. The smell is earthy and warm, sweet, but not sugary. It reminds you of soil after rain, of freshly raked leaves, of something baked and left on the windowsill to cool. You close your eyes, and suddenly, you're outside. The sun is low in the sky, late afternoon, the kind of golden light that makes everything feel like a memory while it's still happening. You're standing at the edge of your grandmother's herb garden. You can feel the itch of tall grass brushing against your ankles and hear the soft buzzing of bees tucked deep into the lavender. She's kneeling beside a clay pot, planting something. Parsley, maybe, or sage. There's dirt on her knees, and her braid has come loose on one side. She looks over at you and says, "Come here. Let me show you how to press the soil just right." It's not about pushing, it's about asking. You laugh, even though it's not really funny. It just feels like you should. The memory pulls at something inside you, a place that still wants to run barefoot down a garden path, fingers brushing thyme, sunlight tangled in your hair. When you open your eyes, you're back in the kitchen. The jar is still in your hand. The cabinet still hums. The scent still lingers. You replace the lid and return the jar to its shelf. And that's when you see it. Behind the line of spice jars, tucked neatly between nutmeg and bay leaf, is a small, folded handkerchief, faded floral cotton, edges fraying. You reach in, gently pulling it out. Inside it, a tiny wooden spoon, not decorative, not polished, used. Its handle is darkened by time and touch, its bowl stained with age. You know this spoon. She used it when stirring hot milk with honey. She let you hold it once, dipping it into a mug when your throat hurt and the winter wind rattled the windows. The cabinet hums. You press the spoon to your chest, just for a moment, just long enough to feel the warmth of memory settle against your ribs. Then you place it next to the folded note. back in the drawer with the cloves, and you breathe. There's something healing about all of this. You're not rushing. You're not escaping. You're remembering. One jar at a time. The next one catches your eye. Star anise. Sharp points. Perfect symmetry. A constellation in spice form. You lift it carefully and prepare to remember the stars. You lift the jar of star anise from its shelf, careful not to disturb the others. Its edges feel cool, precise. The little stars inside are sharp and perfect, 8-pointed, deep brown, like they've been carved from time itself. You turn the jar slowly in your hand, watching how the soft lamplight catches the ridges of each delicate spoke. There's something celestial about them. They don't look like something that should grow from the earth. They look like they fell from the night sky. You twist the lid, and the scent rises. Light, licorice, clean. Not overpowering, just enough to stir something deep in your lungs. A kind of clarity, a kind of lift. You close your eyes, and you're back again. Not in the kitchen, but out beneath the stars. The sky stretches above you, clear and endless, like someone has polished it with care. You're lying on your back in the grass, a blanket beneath you, the air cool, but not cold. There's a hill behind your grandmother's cottage, the one that tilts just high enough to keep the village lights away. You're up there now, the world below asleep. Next to you, your grandfather. He points upward, a thermos of tea between you, and says, "That one's Orion. See the belt? It's crooked, like most things worth knowing." You smile in the dark, not quite understanding, but knowing you'll remember the way he said it. The two of you lie there for what feels like hours, watching the sky breathe. The stars flicker in slow rhythm. There's no rush, no lesson, just stillness, just wonder. He hands you a little jar from his coat pocket, star anise, and tells you it helps the tea taste like the sky. You're not sure how that works, but he's right. You take a sip. The warmth travels through you like a falling star, brief, bright, meaningful. Back in the kitchen, you open your eyes. The memory is still warm. The jar sits quietly in your hand, and for a second, you hold it close to your heart, not because it's dramatic, just because it feels right. You place it back, and as your hand withdraws, your fingers brush something smooth tucked between the jars. A bottle, taller than the others, dark amber glass. You lift it. The label says, vanilla, but beneath it, in smaller handwriting, for love and soft things. You pull the cork. The scent is immediate, sweet, earthy, comforting. It smells like birthdays, like forgiveness, like something gently baked just for you, even if no one said so. You're not surprised when the memory comes. A rainy afternoon, the smell of cookies in the oven. You were sad about something then. School, maybe. A friend. Your grandmother didn't ask questions. She just baked. She handed you a spoon to stir. And you remember the way the vanilla made the dough sweeter instantly. Sometimes the smallest things change everything, she said. And she was right. You place the bottle down carefully. The cabinet hums. Not louder, but deeper. Like it, too, is remembering. There's more waiting, more jars, more quiet magic. But for now, you step back. You let your hand rest on the cabinet door, feeling the grain of the wood, the hum beneath your fingertips. You are not in a rush. You have time. You rest your hand for a moment on the edge of the spice cabinet. The hum has become familiar now. Not loud, not calling, just present, like breathing, like memory. You scan the shelves again, your eyes finding one jar in particular, saffron, the tiniest jar of them all. Glass so thin it almost seems delicate to hold. Inside, a few crimson threads, curled and dry but still glowing, the color of late sunsets, the color of something rare. You lift it carefully. The label is barely attached, corners lifting. It reads, Dream Market. Your lips curl into a soft smile. Of course it does. Your grandmother used to tell stories about the Dream Market, a place she claimed she visited in her sleep, where people traded memories like spices and bought laughter in glass bottles, where saffron was never weighed, but sung to, gently, before being placed into velvet sachets. You close your eyes, and just like that, you're there. The air is filled with music that doesn't come from anywhere in particular. Soft, slow melodies that curl like incense in the air. You're walking through a covered market. The stalls are wooden and uneven. Strings of lanterns bob in the warm wind. You smell rose water, baked figs, warm sugar, but it's the saffron that draws you. One stall in particular, a woman with silver braids and rings on every finger smiles at you. She doesn't speak, just lifts a tiny jar, identical to the one in your hand, and opens it slowly beneath your nose. The scent isn't sharp, it's golden. It feels like velvet settling over your thoughts. She hands it to you, and you offer her something. You don't remember what. A thread of worry, a heavy moment from the day before. Whatever it was, she takes it, tucks it into her apron, like it's a thank you. Then she nods, and the stall fades. You open your eyes. Back in the kitchen, the saffron jar still in your hand. You sit on the stool beside the counter, jar resting between your palms, and for a few moments you let the memory linger. Not to chase it, just to honor it. You place the jar gently back into its spot, right between paprika and vanilla. The humming cabinet seems to settle, like someone pulling a blanket up over their chest. Then something shifts. A faint creak behind you. You turn your head. The pantry door, the one that never opened when you were a child, the one your grandmother always said was just storage. It's open, just slightly, enough for moonlight to catch the edge of the door frame. You rise from the stool. Quiet steps. Barely a sound. You press your fingers to the wood and ease the door open. It's not a pantry. Not really. It's a tiny room, lined floor to ceiling with shelves, and every shelf holds jars, boxes, letters tied with string, tins, tattered recipe cards, scraps of cloth, empty perfume bottles, all of it glowing in the soft silver light coming through the small circular window above. This isn't storage. It's preservation. It's a library of feeling. You step inside, breath catching slightly at the weight of it, and though the spice cabinet behind you remains open, silent now, you know, this room was built to remember, just like you. The door swings gently behind you as you step into the small room. The light inside is quiet, moonlight falling through a round window, touching everything in soft silver. You breathe in. The air smells like paper and pepper, lavender and thyme. The shelves stretch all the way to the ceiling, though the space itself is narrow. You can run your hand across both walls if you stand in the center, and as you do, your fingertips pass over tin boxes and old matchbooks, faded labels and broken teacups. Every item has been placed with care, not in perfect order, but in rhythm, the way your grandmother always arranged her days, by feeling, not plan. You spot a little black box tucked into a far corner. You reach for it slowly and ease off the lid. Inside, bay leaves, dried, curled, pale green, dozens of them, layered like pressed feathers, and beneath them, letters, old ones, tied with ribbon, some sealed, some opened, all folded with the kind of gentleness reserved for things never meant to be discarded. You sit on a small wooden stool tucked beneath the bottom shelf. The wood creaks faintly beneath you. You don't mind. Your fingers find the top letter. It's addressed in a familiar hand. Not your grandmother's. Your mother's. You blink once, twice. The letters remain. You don't read them. Not yet. Instead, you place the bundle in your lap and run your hand over the bay leaves again. Your grandmother used them in soup. Always tossed one in at the very end. She said they weren't meant to be eaten. They were there for flavor, for story. Some things, she'd whisper, are meant only to pass through. You let that settle into your chest for a moment, then place the bundle back where you found it. Just above it, you spot a jar of paprika. The deep red powder catches the moonlight and glows like coals under ash. The label says simply, Firelight Tale. You lift the jar and uncap it slowly, and then, as if summoned, the memory returns. A storm, the power out, rain pounding against the windows. You, wrapped in a blanket, your grandmother lighting candles, placing them carefully around the hearth. She tells you a story then about a distant cousin who once rowed a small boat across a flooded road to deliver a loaf of bread. You don't know if it was true, but the way she told it made it feel like a legend, and in the background, something simmering. Paprika, red and warm and smoky. You open your eyes, still in the little room, still surrounded by the quiet weight of memory. You replace the jar and trace your fingers along the wood one more time. Each shelf feels like a page, each jar a paragraph. This isn't a pantry. It's a story you're still inside, and as you turn to leave, the moonlight follows you back through the door. The cabinet hums softly again, and you realize it never stopped. You just needed to listen more closely. You step out of the little room and gently close the pantry door behind you. It clicks shut like a secret being safely kept. The kitchen greets you again with its warm hush. The oil lamps still flicker softly, casting a slow dance of light across the stone floor. Nothing's changed, and yet everything feels deeper now. Like you read a few more pages of a story that was always waiting. You return to the spice cabinet. It hums low, steady, welcoming. There's one jar slightly turned, as if calling your attention. Cardamom. The label is thin, almost transparent with age, the writing delicate and slanted. Under the name, in pencil, 4 doors you forgot were there. You reach for it. The jar is warm in your hand. Not hot, just held, as if someone picked it up before you, moments ago. You remove the lid and inhale. The scent is strange and beautiful, sharp, sweet, citrusy, and grounding, like waking up in a room you didn't know you'd fallen asleep in. You close your eyes, and the kitchen fades. You're standing in a hallway now. Wooden floors, dust motes spinning in shafts of golden light, the walls lined with closed doors, each one slightly different, some arched, some square, some painted in pale pastels. You reach for one at random. It opens with a creak. Inside, an old attic filled with blankets and cedar and the smell of time. You kneel near a trunk and lift the lid. Inside are things you forgot you ever loved. A wooden block with your initials carved in the side, a faded drawing of a cat with a crooked tail, a letter to no one in your own childhood handwriting. It reads, "When I grow up, I want to remember this." You smile, and tears prick at the corners of your eyes, but not in sadness, more like relief, as if the forgotten parts of you are still here, still safe, still waiting. You close the trunk, you whisper thank you to no one in particular, and step out of the attic, back into the hallway. More doors wait, but you know you'll return to them another night. For now, you open your eyes, back in the kitchen, the cardamom jar still in your hands. You place it gently back where it belongs, and that's when you notice it. At the bottom of the cabinet, a tiny envelope tucked into the wood like it grew there. You pull it free. There's no name, no address, just 3 words, handwritten in ink that's smudged but still legible. You made it. You hold the envelope for a moment, then tuck it into your pocket, not to keep it, but to carry it, because some messages aren't meant to stay in cabinets. They're meant to come with you. The envelope stays in your pocket, its soft weight grounding you as you stand once more before the open cabinet. You run your fingers along the edge of the shelf, tracing invisible threads between the jars. Between moments, really. One jar sits quietly at the back. Its label has nearly worn away, but you know what it is. Bay leaves. You lift the lid. The scent is subtle, dry and leafy, like a walk through the garden in late autumn. It smells like something unfinished, like the beginning of a story that was paused rather than ended. You close your eyes, and the kitchen fades. You're sitting at the long wooden table again, years ago. Your grandmother stands by the stove, stirring something that bubbles gently. Maybe soup, maybe stew. She hums, low and tuneless, just to keep her hands moving. You're holding a stack of envelopes, flipping through them. You don't open them. You don't need to. You just read the names on the front. Names you know. Some still alive, some not. Each one written in the same hand. Your grandmother's. She catches you staring. "Letters I never sent," she says simply. "Why not?" She shrugs. "Sometimes writing them is enough." You look at the stack again, seeing it now for what it is not a pile of paper, but a map, a quiet record of love and longing and things left unsaid. You return to the present, and the jar of bay leaves still rests in your hand. You replace it carefully. One leaf falls to the floor. You kneel, pick it up, and pause. It's shaped like a small boat. You place it in the center of the table, and now your eyes catch a jar you hadn't noticed before. Paprika, bold red, the kind of color that sings even in silence. You open it, and the scent greets you immediately. Smoky, warm, alive. You don't even need to close your eyes. The memory is already here. Firelight flickering across the kitchen walls. A storm pounding outside. Candles glowing. Your grandmother telling you the tale of a shipwreck. Or maybe a thunderstorm. Or maybe the night she learned to dance in the rain. You can't remember the details. Only the feeling. Comfort. Bravery. A voice speaking softly against the dark. She'd sprinkle paprika into the soup like a charm, stirring it in with slow, steady hands. You lean on the counter now, the present wrapped gently around you, like her old shawl. The kitchen is still, the hum of the cabinet low and even. You step back. There's nothing urgent in the air, only peace, only presence. You sit in the same chair, by the hearth, and for the first time tonight, you realize you're tired, but not the heavy kind, the good kind, the kind that means you've remembered something important. You glance back at the cabinet, and you feel it. You're only halfway through, and the best stories always take their time. The candlelight leans gently against the walls as you rise from the chair. The shadows no longer feel like absences. They feel like blankets, layered soft and deep across the corners of the kitchen. You move slowly back toward the spice cabinet. The hum greets you, quiet and even, like the rhythm of a lullaby you almost remember. Your fingers glide over the jars again. They all feel familiar now, known, like names you once forgot, but that still remembered you. One jar sits near the center, clove. The glass is dark, and the lid is worn smooth from use. The scent is rich, sweet, and spicy all at once. It carries something heavy in it, something old. You twist the lid and close your eyes. The warmth of memory pulls you gently inward. You're sitting at the table again, but this time, you're not alone. Your grandmother is there. Her hands are wrapped around a steaming mug. You're older, maybe just last year. She's quiet, thoughtful. You'd come to her upset, something unspoken weighing you down. She didn't ask for details. She never needed to. She poured tea, dropped in 2 cloves, and said, "Some hurts take root if you don't name them. Others let go if you just let them be." You nod silently in the memory. You remember how the tea tasted, bold and dark and a little too hot. You drank it anyway, and afterward, somehow things didn't feel fixed, but they felt bearable. You open your eyes. The jar of cloves still rests in your palm. The hum from the cabinet has softened now, as if it's exhaled with you. You place the jar back and catch sight of something tucked between 2 others. It's not a spice. It's a key, tiny, bronze, shaped like a leaf. No tag, no drawer to match. You hold it for a moment. You don't need to know what it unlocks. You tuck it into your pocket next to the envelope. Some things are meant to be carried, not explained. You glance out the window. The lavender garden shimmers under the moonlight, and just beyond it, the faint outline of the old greenhouse, the one you were never allowed to explore alone as a child. Maybe it's still locked, or maybe the door was never locked at all. You turn back to the cabinet. It hums once more, low and even. You whisper, "I remember," and in that moment, you feel something quiet shift inside you. Not a change, a return. You trace your fingers along the spice cabinet's wooden edge, feeling the soft indentations of the carved wildflowers, each one a little smoother than the last, worn down by time and touch. It's almost time to close the cabinet, but not yet. Your eyes fall to one last jar, vanilla. The label reads, "Soft things and second chances." You lift it gently. The lid creaks as you twist it. The scent is immediate, sweet, earthy, a little like sugar, a little like home. It smells like birthdays, like warm mornings, like something made with love, and not much else. You breathe in, and for a moment, you're somewhere else again. A Sunday morning, sunlight stretching long across the kitchen floor, your grandmother's radio playing softly, something slow and jazzy, drifting in and out, like it's dancing with the light. You're sitting on the counter, legs swinging. There's a mixing bowl in front of you, and a smudge of flour on your cheek. She cracks 2 eggs with one hand, something you always thought was magic, and drops them into the batter. She doesn't use a recipe. She adds vanilla by memory, by feel. A little more, she says, pouring a generous splash. That's the secret. More than you think. Always. Just a little more. You remember the way the room smelled then. You remember the warmth of her voice. You remember the muffins came out a little lopsided, but perfect. Back in the present, you hold the jar of vanilla a little closer. You understand now. It wasn't about baking. It was about gentleness, forgiveness, the kind of sweetness that doesn't ask questions, it just stays. You return the jar to the shelf and pause, because now something's different. The cabinet's hum has quieted, not vanished, just settled, like a song nearing its final note. You step back slowly. Let your hands fall to your sides. The kitchen feels full, not crowded, not busy, full in the way a heart feels after it, has remembered too much and doesn't want to forget again. You walk toward the chair by the hearth. The blanket is still draped over the back. You pull it down, wrap it around your shoulders, and sit. You let the hush of the room settle over you, the hum of the cabinet, the soft sigh of the wind against the window. You're not alone here. You never were. The jars are still, the memories resting, the kitchen watching over you. And as your eyes begin to close, you whisper to yourself, or maybe to the room, or maybe to your grandmother, or maybe to no one at all. Thank you. The spice cabinet doesn't answer. It doesn't need to. Time seems to stretch in the stillness. You sit quietly in the chair by the hearth, the blanket draped across your lap, like the warm memory of someone's hand. The oil lamps flicker low now, their flame just enough to keep the corners from falling fully into night. The spice cabinet sits peacefully across the room, closed now, not locked, just resting. But you don't need it at this moment. You rise slowly and walk to the window. Outside, the lavender garden sways gently beneath the moonlight. The soft breeze makes the long stalks nod, as if in agreement with some unspoken lullaby. You open the window just slightly, letting the scent spill in, a mix of cool air, soft herbs, and something faintly floral, the kind of smell that reminds you you're safe. And then you see it, something small and pale, just beyond the edge of the garden, the greenhouse. You remember it now, not just the shape or the vines that cling to its corners, but the feeling of always wanting to go inside. It was locked your entire childhood, a mystery. But now, maybe not. You slip on your shoes, still warm from where they sat near the hearth, and step outside. The night air greets you with quiet reverence. Each footstep crunches gently against the gravel as you make your way across the yard. The greenhouse stands before you, partially covered in ivy, its glass fogged and cracked in places. A soft light flickers inside, though you don't know how or why. You pull the key from your pocket, the one shaped like a leaf. It slides into the rusted lock without resistance. A small click, and the door opens. Inside, it's warmer than expected. Shelves line the walls, filled with tiny bottles and drying flowers. There are bowls of seeds, small jars of soil, bundles of herbs tied with string. A table in the center holds a kettle and a single cup. It's steeping, waiting. You step forward and sit in the old wooden chair. The cushion beneath you sighs under your weight, like it's remembering too. You lift the cup. Vanilla, clove, maybe a hint of cardamom. You're not sure anymore where scent ends and memory begins. You sip, and the world stills. A notebook rests on the table, bound in soft leather, edges worn smooth. You open it. Inside, recipes, stories, doodles of cinnamon sticks and bay leaves, little notes in the margins, your grandmother's voice in ink. Some pages are written in your own handwriting. On the last page, a sentence, centered. Some things are passed down without needing to be explained. You sit for a long time in the greenhouse, listening, not to anything out loud, but to the way the walls hold memory, the way the lavender brushes against the glass, the way this cup of tea tastes like something only you were meant to find. Eventually, you rise. You leave the greenhouse door open behind you, because some things, when remembered, deserve to breathe. The path back to the cottage is even quieter than before. You walk slowly, savoring each step, the night wrapping around your shoulders like an old song. The scent of lavender lingers in the air, the greenhouse light gently glowing behind you, left like a lantern for memory. You enter the kitchen again. It welcomes you, unchanged and gently breathing, like a room with a soul. The spice cabinet remains closed, but you still feel its presence, warm, watching, alive in its stillness. You move to the table. The round loaf of bread has cooled now. You tear a piece from it with your fingers and eat in silence. It's soft, just sweet enough, and familiar in the way only homemade things can be. After a moment, you notice something on the counter, a folded cloth napkin, and resting on top of it, a bundle of dried lavender tied with twine. A little note tucked underneath reads, "For your own cupboard someday." You hold the bundle in your hands, and you realize this was never just about remembering. It was preparation, a quiet gathering of moments you'll take with you when you leave. You return to the chair by the hearth. The blanket still holds your shape. You sink into it, bones relaxing, shoulders dropping with the gravity of gentle understanding. On the small side table sits a glass jar you hadn't noticed before. No label. Inside, a mixture. Bits of cinnamon, a bay leaf, clove, cardamom pods, even a single curl of saffron. All together, all mingled. A spice blend of memory. You lift it, and at the bottom of the jar, written directly on the glass, home. No instructions, no measurements. Just that. You place the jar in your lap and breathe. The house is silent now, but not empty. Even the shadows feel friendly, like they know your name. The hum has gone from the cabinet, or maybe it's just quieted inside you now, made a home in your chest. Outside, a breeze pushes gently through the window. The flame in the oil lamp flickers once, holds, and then you hear it, not loudly, not with your ears, but from within, a voice that sounds like your grandmother's, and also like your own. You're ready. You sit quietly by the hearth, the jar of blended spices in your lap. The word home, written at the bottom, feels heavier than glass. It pulses with something real, like heat, like memory, like belonging. You look around the kitchen once more. Everything familiar, everything right where it's always been. But it's not just the objects. It's the feeling that you've become part of this place again, as if your presence has stirred the room back into its rhythm. You stand slowly, the blanket sliding from your shoulders, pooling in soft folds at your feet. You return the jar to the cabinet, placing it on the middle shelf, right between vanilla and clove. It doesn't hum anymore. It doesn't need to. You run your hand across the wooden door before gently closing it. The latch clicks into place like a sentence ending. Firm, gentle, whole. You turn toward the hallway that leads to the bedroom. On the side table near the door, another note waits, folded once, plain. You open it without hesitation. Inside, you leave with more than you came for. No name, no date, just the truth. You slip it into your pocket with the others. The envelope, the key, the soft memory of letters that were never sent but still said what mattered. The hallway is dim, but you don't turn on the light. The darkness here isn't heavy. It's soft, like the final pages of a good book, like closing your eyes in a place you trust. You open the bedroom door and step inside. The bed is made. Of course it is. The sheets smell like lavender and sunlight and old quilts. There's a journal on the nightstand, spine creased, a pen tucked neatly inside. You run your fingers across the cover. Blank pages remain, not empty, waiting. You pull back the covers, slip beneath them, and settle into the cool hush of cotton and memory. A breeze passes through the cracked window. The curtains lift, sigh, and fall again. Outside, the garden rustles softly. A bird calls once, then quiet. You close your eyes, and you feel it. You're not just in your grandmother's house. You're in her story. And now, her story is in you. You sleep deeply, the kind of sleep that doesn't just rest your body, but restores something older, something quieter, and buried beneath the noise of daily life. When you wake, light is seeping through the curtains, not bright, just enough to remind you where you are. You rise slowly, wrap yourself in a soft cardigan, draped over the chair, and pad barefoot into the kitchen. It smells like warm air and lavender, like nothing and everything at once. The cabinet is closed. Still, you don't touch it, but you nod at it gently, like you would a friend who's already said goodbye. You place the kettle on the stove, the way your grandmother always did, without a timer, without a rush. The water boils when it's ready. You move through the kitchen with ease now. You know where everything is. The honey, the mug, the small tin of tea, labeled comfort. You pour the water, steep the leaves, and sit. You sip, and then you write. At the table, with the morning light rising and the world just beginning again, you open the journal that waited for you last night. Your pen moves slowly. You don't write about everything. You write about cinnamon and nutmeg and the drawer of cloves. You write about keys and greenhouses and jars with no names. You write the words, I remember, and then, I will carry it. You don't write for anyone to read. You write to keep it inside you a little longer, to press the moment into the page, like a dried flower between chapters. When you finish, you close the notebook and press your hand to its cover. A quiet thank you to the room, to the cabinet, to her. You wash your cup and dry it carefully. You smooth the edges of the tablecloth, straighten the chair, fold the blanket one last time. You check your pocket. The envelope is still there. The key, the note that said, you made it. You're not leaving anything behind. You are simply continuing. As you step outside, the air greets you with soft sun and birdsong. You turn once, looking at the cottage, its roof mossy, its windows glowing, still holding, still here. The path winds ahead, but your feet feel sure, because you know now, the stories never stay inside the cabinet. They live in you. The path crunches gently beneath your feet, As you walk away from the cottage, the sun is higher now, warm on your shoulders. A breeze moves through the trees, and the lavender behind you sways like a soft wave saying goodbye. But this isn't a parting. Not really. You look back once more. The cottage sits peacefully, half in sun, half in shadow, timeless. And as you continue, you feel something inside you shift. Not loudly, not suddenly, just a quiet rearranging, like a drawer that's been tidied, like a memory that finally fits. You pass the edge of the garden, and a bird calls from somewhere high in the oak tree. You recognize the sound. You don't know its name, but it feels familiar. You breathe. The path widens slightly, and the scent of cinnamon lingers on your sweater. You reach into your pocket. The envelope is still there. The key, warm from your touch. The note that said, "You made it." And in this moment, you know, you didn't come to find something. You came to remember you already had it. The kitchen, the cabinet, the stories, the jars filled with past and patience and care. They're part of you now. You look ahead. There's no map, no signposts, just the steady hush of morning and the rhythm of your own footsteps. And somehow, that's enough. You keep walking, not away, not toward, just forward, like a story continuing, like a life being lived. And now, let everything soften. Let your breath slow. You've traveled far, without leaving your chair. You've stepped into quiet rooms, into memory, into the warmth of a kitchen where time bends gently and everything speaks in whispers. Let the spices fade now. Let the scent of cinnamon and cardamom linger only in the corners of your breath, like the last lines of a lullaby you've known all your life. The cabinet is closed, but the story is still open. You carry it with you, in your pockets, in your thoughts, in that deep place behind your ribs that knows what comfort feels like even before your mind can name it. You are not alone. You never were. Not in this story. Not in the quiet. Not even in the dark. Let the kitchen fade. Let the light dim. Let your body sink into softness, into stillness, into sleep. There's nothing left to do tonight. Nothing to solve. Nothing to hold. Just let go. Let the hum of the cabinet echo gently into rest. You are safe. You are held. You are home. Sleep well now. We'll meet again in another story. And until then, keep the jar labeled home close to your heart. Sweet dreams.